Hello from the Yarn Closet in southern Arizona. We have a surprise. Do you see it? Do you see it poking in there? Here, we're going to flip you around. Sit, sit.
Mocha, sit.
Good girl.
Good
Now
girl.
tell her you love her. Hi. Hi.
Good girl.
Okay, take her. That's my daughter's room. Yep. And that's new Mocha. And that's diaper Mitzi and baby. All right, we're going to go do some podcasting in the yarn closet. Here's a little update. So I keep this little table going. This is the progress I've made so far on my crochet blanket. I've got about 3 rows of 3 put together. It's going to be 18 squares. It feels like I'm using the yarn up a little too fast. So I don't understand what's going on there with that. Don't understand at all. But we'll figure it out. It's a bit hot this morning. It's a bit later than I wanted. We are now in the yarn closet, so I can show you some other yarny updates. And it's just exhausting when you get a new dog. Exhausting. So we got Mocha. Now it's Mitzi and Mocha. We got Mocha from a rehoming facility through, yes, a pet store franchise. But it's a pet store franchise that works with independent breeders. I've got a couple friends who are independent breeders. They do great breeding. We used to have one of their breeding dogs for just about a little over a year. I don't think home breeders are all that bad. I mean, most of them I think are pretty decent. They have dogs in their home. They bring up these puppies in their home, but every once in a while they'll have a litter that's large. They can't get enough interest in the litter, whatever it is. And then this pet store organization will take some of their animals and they'll sell them. But they have a thing where if you at some point decide, oh, this animal's not working out for me, you can give it back. So we got Mocha. She's 2 years old. Her birthday's next week. She'd been well vetted. She's spayed. She's up to date with stuff. She'd already even had a dental, which I think is a little excessive for a dog that's not even 2. Certain breeds, though, do tend to need dentals a little bit more often than others. But the people who took them on had another dog, had a cat, and Mocha was crated. We figured, based on what their information was, that she was maybe out of her crate 6 hours a day, 7 if she was lucky, maybe longer on the weekends. But it wasn't going well. Apparently she was having accidents in the crate. And they thought she had allergies. But we think that if she's having accidents and laying in urine and stuff, those could also be the reason. Because I talked to my vet the other day, because we can go vet her in the first 2 weeks, and then if there's any problems, they will reimburse us. But my vet is pretty convinced. They kept her at the facility for a couple of weeks on medication because she had this cough. But my vet has seen video of the cough, and she doesn't think it's an allergy cough. She thinks that it's a puppy cough. She's just turning 2. She's a dog that had been heavily crated, and some dogs do great. I'm not criticizing it. I think crating is fine and fabulous. I have crated dogs for the overnight. And I think having them trained to crate is a great thing. But for my life now, we pretty much always have somebody home. So it's not necessary that the animal be crated. People may criticize me for the diapers, but I'm just over having accidents in the house. And I will tell you that my children, my husband, are not as aware of the signs that the dogs make when they want to go out, because these dogs don't just go to the door and bark. They don't just go to the door and scratch. So we have diaper dogs because I'm not having it. And yes, they're not in their diapers constantly. If they've gone out and they've gone potty, they come in and they don't have to be in the diaper for a while, but then we put them back in it. She's a lovely dog. She's a very happy dog. My daughter loves her. She's definitely more attached to my daughter. My daughter is learning some extra responsibilities. She's learning how to be assertive with the dog, to train her, because she wasn't well trained. And I'll just say that we got a breeder level dog that has had like all this vetting. So we do have a really good idea of its health background and stuff. I don't feel like I'm supporting breeders or pet stores, but I took an older dog out of a situation, and this woman explained to me, she's like, these dogs tend to stay in their like shelter situation for months because it is harder to find people who will take a returned animal because they feel like it's problematic. Well, I looked at the information that they gave when they turned the dog in, videos that they'd shown me, information from the vet, and what I saw, because of my experience, was a young, good dog that hasn't been trained, was crated too much, maybe not given the engagement that it needed. And I know since we do diaper dogging, it wasn't going to be a problem, that she had some issues there. So we got her on Tuesday, lunchtime, up in Phoenix. So it was a long driving day. And it's now Friday. She's doing really well. No overnight accidents. My daughter's getting up and doing a mile walk with me and the other dog in the morning. The other dog is not thrilled. Mitzi is not thrilled. She was used to being an only dog. And Mitzi had always been an only dog with cats. This other dog, Mocha, they've run around a couple times. She really wants to play with Mitzi. Mitzi doesn't know how to play. Cats don't play the same as dogs. She just doesn't know how to play. So it's going to be a little slower going for them to kind of bond. But it's been really good for my daughter. Really good. My kids have the choice before they go online or on any of my videos. If my kids had their way, they would be on every Yarn Closet video possible. They would have their own YouTube channels that they would be making videos. And they do understand why that's not a good idea. They're not on social media, not even my 17-and-a-half-year-old. You know, he barely uses his own email except for school stuff. He's not on social media. He doesn't do a lot of YouTube. He has a hard time discerning when it comes to the ads. You know how as an adult you can pretty much tell, well, that's a BS ad. He has a harder time with that, so he doesn't like it, so he just doesn't do it. He reads. He does some games. They do a little bit of games, but he reads a lot. He likes to write, and he has graduated. He's taking a year off, and that anxiety that it was like right there at graduation a few months ago, it's leveling off. I think he's going to have some time to decompress and relax. So I do think this year off is a really good idea. I don't like the way our school is set up, where my daughter's going into 5th grade and she's basically in middle school. If she wants to do any kind of sports, she's in middle school sports with 8th graders. If she wants to do any cheerleading, then they're in with 8th grade cheerleaders. I just don't think 10-year-olds need to be concerned at the same level with things that 13-year-olds are concerned with. So we're not going to let her participate in those kind of extracurriculars. She's still going to do the STEM stuff. And she did theater this summer and was fabulous at that. If there's music options this year, she may look into that. We are starting school in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Holy crapola. Our 8-week summer is gone in a heartbeat. I'm shocked at how long my hair is. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. So I'm just going to let it go, because I don't tend to like layers, but I'm wondering if I couldn't grow it a little bit longer and have it cut just a little bit differently, so it doesn't lay in this kind of just curled under business, where it kind of lays a little bit more free. I don't know. I may end up growing it longer and then cutting it short, and then growing it longer and then cutting it short, just because I don't want to spend the money on frequent haircuts, because this is the level that I like it. I like it at about this length. But if I want to keep it that way, I'm getting a cut every 2 months. Because honestly, when it's here, right when it hits about the 2-month mark, it drives me nuts. By the time it hits the 3-month mark right here, because we're at about 3 months now. Now we're at about 2.5 months. I'm okay with it. So I'm trying to figure out a way where I don't have to do haircuts all the time, and yet not just grow it long and hate it. Because I feel like when it's too long, it drags my face out. I feel like we already have some of that going on now. I find it hard to do dry style when it's longer. And I don't feel like ponytails work that well on my hair anymore. It's thinned out a lot. And so I feel when it pulls away from my face, it's just not as attractive. My face has lost a lot of its collagen. I'm going to be 54 in September. I'm very frustrated because of the conflicting information about HRT and trying to find someone that will put me on it. Because I'm also finding that at very low levels of estrogen, systemically, are necessary for bone health, muscle health, heart health, all kinds of things. And I recently went on the antidepressants, had a follow-up appointment with my doctor, and she's like, the new standard is we're pushing for you to get off of them after 6 months. And I said, no, I understand that, but if it takes 2 months for it to fully impact me, do I get 6 months from then and then a couple of months to wean off? Because I have found in the past that weaning off them at the recommended speed is not good for me. I need to go slower. And she's like, yeah, at this stage of the game, we can probably do that. So you'd be on it for roughly a year. And she said, but industry-wide, they are starting to see this push from the insurance companies that this is what's going to happen. So Because honestly, when I went on it, I wasn't thinking that I'd be off of it in a year. Anytime that I have been more successfully on meds in my lifetime, I have been on them for at least a couple of years. I know that may sound ridiculous, but the reality is now that I'm a little bit more clear-headed, I realized that I was very depressed all of last year. So it got overwhelming this summer, but I was in depression for at least a year and a half before I went back on these meds. And the last time, I've never responded real well to the higher doses. The last time I went off meds, because of the pandemic and everything else, the doctors that I'd gone to, and I'd been to different ones because we moved, they just kept upping my dosage. And even though I complained, what do you do? And I had a much harder time going off that last time. So I feel like when I really look back from this place where I do feel more stable, I don't like it. Because I don't like feeling like I have to be on medication to be liked. And I do feel a little bit less. I have a little bit more energy. I'm sleeping better. That's a nice thing. I'm sleeping better. So I don't know. But it looks like, at least via my doctor, that I may be off of these in a year, and we'll see what happens then. Oofda. But I'm feeling pretty good now, and I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to wait it out and see what happens. What have I managed to do? I have not managed a lot of knitting and crocheting this summer. I've got that one blanket about a third of the way done, and that really is fine with me. I'm not overly concerned about it. I have made no progress on this blanket, none whatsoever. It's too heavy, it's too hot, and I don't really like this. I don't like the way it's working together. I don't like the way it feels. I think if I were to do a few more squares, then I might feel differently about it, but it's hard to get into the zone of trying to do that. And yet I do know with certain projects, you need to get X amount into it before it really sets its pace. I've had a lot of problems with my shoulder, my neck, and so that doesn't help with the knitting or the crocheting. I prefer crocheting, but knitting is better on my shoulder and neck. Reasons why I wanted to knit was to make my own socks. I have found that that is far more difficult for me than you would think. These have been mended 3 different times. And I'm to the point now where I've got more holes starting again here. And I've got holes now anew on this one. Yep, see that hole there? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take this part off on both of them and make some fingerless gloves. Because I do like a good fingerless glove, and I like this little pattern. I can't decide whether I'm gonna use a contrasting yarn or if I'm gonna take some yarn out of this foot to just do the finger part, which I very well might. I don't know. I do have another sock tube, or socks that didn't have heels, that I put on my needles, and I have them set up in a bag. I've got the long needles so I can do 2 at a time. I've got in the toes, I've got the balls of contrasting blue sock yarn. So the toe is there, the cuff is here. They're on together so I can do 2 at a time. Heels. I'm not very good with heels. I'm just not. When I make my own socks, they just never quite fit right. Doesn't matter if I find a pattern, doesn't matter if, it just doesn't matter. So, I know once I get back into school, I will start doing more stuff because I have a lot of downtime. Although the schedule this year sounds like we might be a lot more busy. But I'll be able to do a little bit more at school with downtime. And that's fine. I mean, I had other projects this summer. Getting the dog. These 2 weeks are really devoted to getting my daughter understanding what she needs to do with the dog. Then the first couple weeks of school, it's going to be interesting to see how the boys do at home with the dogs. My parents are coming tomorrow to meet the dog. My mom was attacked by a dog when she was young, and so she is really nervous, and I'm like, Mom, this is a nice dog. Don't worry about it. So that's why she's coming so quickly to meet it, because I don't want her anxiety to build. And also she's a little bit upset because she was going to have my daughter more. They've had her a lot this summer because of camp up in Tucson. Since they live there, they just had her over the camp period. But I do believe that by our first big break in the school year, that my daughter will be willing to leave her dog and go. She's very conscientious of how all the dogs and the cats like me. And she wants this dog to be attached to her. Had Mitzi slept with her or played more with her, we would not have a second dog. But I think it's all going to be fine. And that being said, people have asked me at different times, well, what does that mean? Well, you know, my son's not over the moon with dogs, period. He's a cat person. He doesn't like how this dog has upset a couple of our cats. Two of the cats are definitely okay. Two of the cats are and then one of the cats is still like, dude, I don't know. And I want to say to that cat, dude, the big white cat, it's like, you are still bigger than this dog. It may not seem like it, but you are still bigger. She's only 11 pounds, you're 20, you know, and you're a cat. So trust us when we say you're winning anything that happens. So we're going to go to school, and my son can handle Mitzi for diaper changes. Not that he really does. And my husband will be able to deal with this dog, Mocha, because Mocha's really nice and likes him. So he'll be able to take her outside and stuff. And hopefully they can get on a schedule so that she's not wetting in her diaper. And hopefully it will encourage Mitzi to get on more of a schedule during the school year. Because honestly, during the summer, other than like the other day when it was 111, she goes out multiple times a day. She's fine. The ground gets so hot. We had a little fenced-in kitchen garden off the back porch. It wasn't quite shaded enough, but we took the fence, because we had a fence around it because of, you know, we get deer that come into our backyard and stuff. So we took that fence down, and that leaves a really good, the best grassy area of the backyard for the dogs. And my husband's just been watering it down in the afternoons before we do potty breaks. My daughter's going out in the morning. The dogs go to the bathroom in the backyard, and then we take them on a walk. They usually poop on the walk, but not this morning. So then my daughter went inside and played a lot with the dog, and then she went back outside to poop. She was fine. She is sleeping just fine with my daughter. And, all's well right now. We're pretty happy about it. And it wasn't that expensive, because here's the deal. I was looking, what my daughter really wanted was a poodle. This dog is a Havapoo, so it's half poodle, half Havanese. The poodle rescue in Arizona, $750, $800 from a shelter. Now, we could have gone to a couple of the local pounds, but they never seem to have smaller dogs. And their dogs are $75, but if that dog is not spayed, it's not spayed. You have to pay to do it. One of the pounds nearest us makes a concerted effort with some of the local vets to get those animals fixed, spayed and neutered. But the one that's the next closest to us, a little bit further out, doesn't. So, yeah. So that's on you. And it can be $600 to $800 to get a small dog spayed or neutered. And a vet visit alone is going to cost you $100, and that's if they don't do any blood work. Blood work and a vet visit is easily $200 to $300. So we managed to get this dog for $500. She is spayed. She is up to date on her vaccinations. She has a long-acting flea and tick, so I don't have to flea her next month. I can wait. I do, since we live in the country, my dogs and cats get wormed every month. And she'd already been wormed. So, we're all good. And she's microchipped. And I really like the microchip organization that she's registered with, and I'm going to try to get Mitzi on that one because Mitzi meets the criteria. It's through one of the AKC groups that is a mixed breed AKC group. I forget what its actual name is, but I didn't know about this one. I knew about the other AKC for purebreds because I'd had some purebred poodles over the years. And so I'd had them through there. And then there were other groups that I had dogs and cats registered with, but those had a yearly fee. This one is just an initial fee. It's a little bit more, but it's a lifetime. So I kind of like that. Because that way you never lose track or forget about renewing that. And it's kind of pointless to have a chip if your information gets lost, isn't in one of the main places. So that was kind of exciting. And I think she's in really good shape, She's taking to some of our commands pretty well. She wasn't really trained. She didn't respond well to her name. But only within a few days, she's really come around quite a bit. She's doing really well on the leash. Really, I think the main problem is the potty training, is that she doesn't know how to go to the back door and indicate. And my husband is not one that wants bells. Doesn't want bells. So we have to just get her to understand that you've got to go to the back door and then scratch or bark. And so anytime she does go to the back door, we take her out. And I do really think it's going well so far. Much better actually than I anticipated, although it's still stressful. I should have shown you when we were inside what we got for the doors. It's this cap thing that hooks around the doorknob and then hooks in the frame in the striker plate. So you don't actually have to cut out. I think those are coyotes. I don't know if you can hear that. I think those are coyotes. Fun. So I just picked that apart and sometimes it works really well to just, there we go. Because socks get a little felted at all different points, sometimes it's harder to unravel. But I went a few rows up so that I would make sure I had really long. So now I have the beginning of a fingerless glove. So I can either do a contrasting top or pick out some yarn from the other portion of that sock, and then, you know, that's a future project. I'm sweating my butt off out here. Gosh. So I think I'm gonna call it a day. I love chatting. I will be posting a pre-recorded. You will see this a week late. Thanks for being here. I hope you're having a good summer. And see, when I get close enough that I can see, I don't like this. I don't like this. This doesn't bother me as much when my hair is shorter because my hair feels fuller up here. It lays fuller. So we'll see. I know the lighting kind of sucked. Sorry, but I can't really tell. I've been working on trying to adjust to some different glasses this summer. It hasn't been going well. The ongoing loss of vision loss, even after you're legally blind, is so annoying. And I kind of wonder if the medication hasn't impacted it a little bit. And if I won't just kind of adjust, because I've only been on the meds for a month. Yeah. All right, look with your heart first, not your eyes. We'll see you next week. I'm trying to get videos of Mocha, but it's tough.